The day I died was the only day I ever saw my husband break. Not a dramatic death. No guns, no car crash, no screaming. Just the quiet collapse of a woman who had spent too long pretending she wasn't hurting. The faint dizziness I ignored. The way my hands trembled when I tried to sign a document. The sharp, sudden pain blooming in my chest as I stepped into the elevator of Hale Global Industries, the company owned by my husband, Adrian Hale, one of the youngest and most feared CEOs in the country. People thought he was carved from marble. Unreachable. Emotionless. A machine in a tailored suit. And to me, his wife, he was even colder. Our marriage wasn't a fairy tale. It was a contract, arranged for business, reputation, legacy. A perfect match on paper. A perfect mismatch in reality. Adrian never yelled, never touched me, never even raised his voice. His silence cut deeper than cruelty. I convinced myself he simply didn't care whether I existed or not. I thought I was invisible to him. That's why, when the elevator doors opened and I stumbled forward, collapsing onto the marble lobby floor, the last person I expected to hear screaming my name was him. Ilara! Adrian was suddenly at my side, dropping to his knees in a way that made his employees freeze in shock. His immaculate suit jacket hit the floor without hesitation as he gathered me into his arms. His hands shook violently. His breath came in shallow, terrified bursts. I didn't understand. His face, always composed, always unreadable, was destroyed. Raw panic twisted his features. Tears blurred his eyes. Ilara, stay with me, he begged, voice cracking. Please look at me. Don't close your eyes. Why was he looking at me like that? Why was his voice filled with desperation? My vision grew hazy. My heartbeat slowed. I tried to speak, but only a broken whisper escaped. Adrian? He pressed his forehead to mine, and for the first time in our marriage, he said words I never imagined he could feel. I can't lose you. Not you. Never you. I died in his arms before I could understand what he meant. When consciousness returned, it wasn't to marble floors or Adrian's trembling voice. It was to a hospital ceiling. Harsh white lights. A cold sterile smell. And a body. That wasn't mine. My hands were different. My voice when I gasped was different. My reflection in the monitor's dark screen was different. Longer hair. Different eyes. A younger face. I sat up abruptly, heart racing. A nurse rushed to my side. Miss, you're awake. Calm down, okay? You're safe. Safe. Nothing about this was safe. I need a mirror, I said, my voice trembling with unfamiliar tone. When they brought it, my breath caught painfully. I wasn't a Lara Hale anymore. I had been reborn. A new identity. A new life. But my soul, my memories, my death, all remained. I tried to steady my breathing. Tried to accept the impossible. But acceptance shattered the moment the door burst open. A man stepped inside. Not Adrian, but his personal assistant, the same one who used to deliver documents to our home with mechanical politeness. His eyes widened in shock. Mrs. Hale? No, the nurse corrected. This is our patient, Alina Reyes. But the assistant didn't look convinced. His hands trembled as he reached into his pocket and pulled out a phone. Before I could ask anything, the door opened again. And there he was. Adrian Hale. My cold, strict, unreadable CEO husband. His expression shattered just like the moment before I died. He froze in the doorway. His breath caught. And in a voice filled with heartbreak and disbelief, he whispered, Ilara. My entire body trembled. No. He couldn't know. He couldn't possibly feel it. But he took one slow step forward, eyes locked onto mine, emotions swirling in depths I never thought he possessed. And I realized something terrifying. Adrian Hale, the man I believed cared about no one, had always watched me, always protected me, always loved me. Silently. Deeply. Secretly. Far more than I ever knew. And now that he felt my soul again, he wasn't going to let me disappear a second time. The moment Adrian saw me in that hospital bed, everything inside the room shifted. The air grew heavy, charged, as if gravity realigned itself around us. He didn't blink. Didn't breathe. Didn't move. He simply stared at me like I was the sun returning after a decade of darkness. But I wasn't a Lara Hale anymore. Not on the outside. Not physically. Not according to every logical law of nature. Yet the way he looked at me, I knew he felt my soul. He knew. He crossed the room slowly, as if afraid I'd vanish if he got too close. His assistant tried to speak, but Adrian raised a hand without looking away from me. "Leave us," he said quietly. It wasn't a command. It was a warning wrapped in silk. The room emptied in seconds. The nurse hesitated last, glancing between us with confusion and a hint of fear. Adrian's expression softened, barely, as he nodded at her. "It's all right. I'll stay with her." Stay with her. As if he had every right to. As if the world made sense that way. When the door finally closed, only then did he step closer to my bed. "Ilara," he whispered. My breath stuttered. "That's not my name," I said, forcing my voice to remain steady. "I'm not who you think I am." His jaw tensed. "Your voice. Your presence. The way you look at me. I know my wife." I clenched the blanket between my fingers. "Your wife is dead." "Then explain to me," he said, his tone cracking for the first time, "why everything in my chest told me you were still alive the moment your heart started beating today." My body went cold. "You felt that?" He closed his eyes, exhaling shakily. "I've felt you every day since you died." The room shrank around us. He continued before I could speak. "I thought I was losing my mind. I couldn't sleep. Couldn't breathe. Every time I walked into an empty room, I felt like you were there, just out of reach. I knew it made no sense, but I also knew it was real." I swallowed hard. "Adrian, you're grieving. You're projecting your—" "No," he interrupted quietly, but firmly. "This is not grief. I know what loss feels like. I know what it means to bury someone you didn't get the chance to love properly." I blinked. "What?" He sat down beside the bed. Not close enough to touch, but close enough that I felt the warmth of his body. "When we married," he said, "I thought distance would protect you. Protect me. My life is not kind. People watch me. Hunt me. Want to use me. And the moment I realized how quickly you became the center of my world, I knew keeping my feelings hidden was the only way to keep you safe." I stared at him, stunned. "You didn't love me," I whispered. "You barely spoke to me. You avoided me." His expression twisted painfully. "I avoided you because I loved you." My breath hitched. That didn't make sense. And yet, it did. He looked down at his hands. Hands that had held me as I died. "You were the only part of my life I couldn't control. Everything else I could build, command, buy, or break. But you made me feel things I had no power over." His eyes met mine, filled with regret I had never seen. And that terrified me. Silence wrapped around us. Thick, warm, unbearable. I took a shaky breath. "Why tell me this now?" His voice barely rose above a whisper. "Because you died without knowing the truth." My heart squeezed painfully. He continued. "You collapsed in front of me, and for the first time, I felt real panic. Not fear of reputation. Not fear of business. But the fear of losing the only person whose existence made mine bearable." He closed his eyes, and a single tear slid down his cheek. "You died in my arms," he whispered, voice raw. "I held you, and I realized I had spent our marriage doing everything except loving you the way you deserved." My throat tightened. I had never seen him like this. Never imagined he had so much emotion held behind his stern, controlled exterior. "And now you're here again," he said, opening his eyes with a fire that sent chills through me. "I won't ignore what fate has given me a second time." I recoiled slightly. "Adrian, this isn't healthy. You're clinging to an illusion." "No." His voice softened again. "I'm recognizing the truth. You came back to me. The door suddenly opened. The nurse returned with a chart, unaware of the tension in the air. When she saw Adrian sitting close to me, something shifted in her expression. A mix of curiosity and fear. She approached timidly. "Sir, the patient needs rest." Adrian stood abruptly, composure snapping back like a mask sliding into place. "I won't disturb her," he said. "But she's going home with me when she's cleared." I nearly choked. "What? Adrian, no." "We'll talk about it later," he said gently. Too gently. As if he already made the decision. The nurse blinked. "Sir, that's not hospital policy." He turned his gaze toward her. Cold, sharp, CEO mode. "It is when I own the hospital." The nurse froze. My heart skipped. "You bought the hospital?" "Years ago." "For what reason?" His eyes lingered on my face. "You." The world tilted sideways. "Adrian, you're not thinking clearly." "I'm thinking more clearly than I ever have," he said, brushing a strand of my hair behind my ear with trembling fingers. "You're back. And I'm not letting destiny punish me twice." I flinched at the warmth of his touch. I had waited years for affection like this, but not like this. Not with so much intensity. So much devotion. So much danger. Because I finally realized. Adrian Hale wasn't cold. He wasn't unfeeling. He wasn't distant. He was a man who loved in silence. A man who hid his gentleness behind icy walls. A man whose devotion could become terrifying if fate threatened to take me away again. And I had no idea what he would do next. Being discharged from the hospital should have been the start of my new life. A chance to breathe, think, and figure out what the universe wanted from me. But Adrian didn't give me room to breathe. Not even for a second. He stood beside my wheelchair as the nurse rolled me toward the exit, as if I might disappear if he blinked. The employees in the lobby froze the moment they saw him escorting me. They bowed immediately. More out of fear than respect. Adrian Hale inspired that kind of reaction. "Your car is waiting in the private lane," his assistant said quietly. "My car?" I echoed, confused. Adrian didn't look at me as he responded. "Yes. You're coming home." My pulse spiked. "No. I'm not coming back with you." He stopped walking. Everyone froze behind him. Adrian turned his head slowly, and for a moment, I saw the mask he wore in the boardroom. Cold, unreadable, intimidating enough to silence entire departments. But his eyes held something else. Fear. Desperation. Hope. "Ilara." He said my name like a confession. "That's not my name." His jaw tightened. "It's who you are." I swallowed hard. "My life ended. I'm someone else now. You're the only person I've ever—" He cut himself off abruptly, as if the words were too dangerous to speak aloud. "You're coming home. We'll talk there." I stood from the wheelchair, gripping its handles. "I have a home now. A job. A life. You can't drag me back into yours because you can't handle grief." His expression twisted. Something between pain and anger. "You think this is grief?" he asked quietly. "You think I'm confusing you with a memory?" "Yes," I whispered. A long silence stretched between us. Then he stepped closer, close enough that I could feel the warmth radiating from his body. "When you died," he said slowly, "my life stopped with yours. Every day since then has been a punishment I couldn't escape. And the moment I saw you here, breathing alive, I knew the universe was giving me one chance to fix everything." His voice broke. "I won't waste that chance." I shook my head. "You don't own me." He breathed in sharply, wounded. "No," he said softly. "I don't. But I loved you. And I still do. That's not ownership. That's truth." My heart throbbed painfully. Before I could answer, a voice echoed across the lobby. A bold declaration, coming from a man who couldn't even admit he loved his wife when she was alive. We both turned. A woman in a sleek gray suit approached, tall, confident, with red lips and eyes that glimmered with intelligence and danger. I recognized her immediately. Valeria Shaw, Adrian's right hand in the company. The woman rumored to be his closest confidant. Some even whispered she was in love with him. What was she doing here? She stopped a few feet away and looked directly at me. "Hello, Mrs. Hale," she said calmly. "Or should I say, whatever name you're using now." I slid down my spine. She knew. Somehow she knew. Adrian stepped between us instantly. "Valeria," he warned. "Not here." She ignored him, eyes locked on mine. "You died, Ilara. And yet here you are. Walking. Breathing. Staring at us with the same terrified eyes." She tilted her head. Fate really does love irony. I backed away slowly. "What do you want?" She smiled. "To understand why Adrian is risking everything for you again." Adrian grabbed her arm. "Enough." She slipped out of his grasp easily, adjusting her blazer with a smirk. "You're making the same mistake, Adrian," she said. "You're letting your emotions compromise your decisions." "My emotions are none of your concern," he snapped. "Except they've become everyone's concern," she replied. "Your board is restless. Investors are questioning your stability. People saw you holding a stranger as if she were your entire world." I stiffened. "He held me? In public?" "Your vulnerability is showing," she continued. Adrian's expression darkened with lethal calm. "Say another word," he whispered, "and you'll regret it." She raised an eyebrow. "For defending you? Or for telling her the truth?" I exhaled slowly. "Which truth?" Valeria met my gaze. Sharp, piercing. "That you didn't die by accident." My heartbeat slammed into my ribs. Adrian tensed immediately. "Valeria." She stepped closer to me. "You were poisoned," she said. "And someone inside this company made sure no one noticed until it was too late." My breath caught. Poisoned. Not sick. Not unlucky. Killed. By someone in his world. I staggered backward, but Adrian caught my wrist. "Ilara." "No." I pulled away. "Don't touch me." His eyes filled with hurt. "Ilara, please. How long have you known?" I demanded. "Tell me the truth." Adrian's shoulders slumped in defeat. "Since the night you died." I gasped. "And you didn't tell me?" His voice shook. "I wanted to tell you. I planned to. But then you were gone." Valeria added calmly, "And now the person who killed you knows you're back." I froze. "What?" Adrian's hand trembled as he reached for me again. "We have to go. Now." Valeria stepped aside. "For what it's worth," she said softly, "I hope he protects you this time." I stared between them, the cold CEO who secretly loved me, and the woman who knew far too much. My new life wasn't new at all. It was a continuation of a story I never finished. A story of love, betrayal, obsession, and danger. And as Adrian led me toward the private exit, whispering, "I won't lose you again," I realized something terrifying. My strict CEO husband wasn't just loving. He was devoted. So devoted that his love might ruin us both. The moment Adrian ushered me into the private car, the world outside blurred into streaks of gray and neon. Rain began falling, soft at first, then harder, tapping against the windows like restless fingers. It wasn't the storm outside that unsettled me. It was the storm inside his gaze. A storm of regret, fear, longing, and something deeper. Something he could no longer hide. He sat beside me, silent, his posture stiff with tension. His hand hovered close to me, as if he wasn't sure whether he had the right to touch me anymore. For the first time, I realized he wasn't cold at all. He was terrified. "Ilara," he murmured barely audibly. I stared out the window. "That's not my name. It's the name of the woman I love." I shut my eyes, heart aching. You didn't love me. Not when I was alive. Silence. A painful, heavy silence. Then he spoke, quietly, slowly, as if each word cut him from the inside. I loved you the only way I knew how. Not the way you deserved. The car slowed as we approached his penthouse tower. Tall, elegant, intimidating. The kind of building that held secrets behind every glass wall. Please, he whispered, come inside. Let me explain everything. I almost refused. Almost. But something in his expression, a fragile gentleness I'd never seen before, disarmed me. So I followed him inside. The penthouse was warm, softly lit, too quiet. A place built for luxury yet filled with loneliness. I'd lived here once, but I had never truly been allowed inside his world. Now it felt different, as if the walls themselves exhaled when I entered. Adrian took off his coat, tossed it carelessly aside, and loosened his tie. Not the polished, perfect CEO the world feared. Just a man, exhausted, cracked open, vulnerable. He motioned for me to sit on the sofa. I didn't. I stood by the window, watching the city glitter like a distant galaxy. Who killed me? I asked softly. He inhaled sharply. I don't know with certainty. And the poison? He closed his eyes. Traces of aconite. Someone slipped it into your tea at the charity gala. You collapsed the next morning. My breath stuttered. And you hid this from me. I was trying to protect you, he said, stepping closer. I thought if I found them first, I could keep you safe. But I waited too long. I lost my chance. My voice trembled. I died never knowing you cared. His chest rose and fell with uneven breaths. I cared too much, he admitted. Enough to ruin myself the moment you stopped breathing. I turned to face him fully. Why didn't you tell me how you felt? A faint, broken smile touched his lips. Because loving you felt like standing at the edge of a cliff. One wrong word, one wrong confession, and you could fall. And I would lose everything. My heart hurt. He continued. I thought I had time. That we could grow closer slowly. That you'd eventually see how much you meant to me. His voice cracked. But time ran out. I swallowed hard. Adrian, I'm not her anymore. He stepped closer, one slow, deliberate movement at a time. But you are. He placed a trembling hand over his chest. In here. My heart throbbed painfully. And here. He rested 2 fingers against his temple. Because I feel you. Not just the memory of you, you. I shivered. You're convincing yourself of something impossible, I whispered. No, he said softly. What's impossible is losing the same soul twice. I didn't know what to say. I didn't know how to breathe. Then a sound shattered the moment. A beep from his security panel. Adrian stiffened instantly. His jaw clenched as he checked the screen. Valeria. She stood downstairs in the lobby, badge pressed to the scanner, eyes sharp even through the camera view. What does she want? I asked. He didn't answer immediately. His silence said enough. Adrian, I whispered. She wasn't just my advisor, he said quietly. She was part of the investigation after you died. She's one of the only people who knows you didn't pass away naturally. And can I trust her? He hesitated again. Longer this time. I want to say yes, he murmured, but I don't trust anyone with you anymore. Not the board. Not my investors. Not my own security team. His gaze softened. Only you. The elevator dinged. Footsteps approached. Valeria stepped into the penthouse, her presence slicing the air like a blade. We need to talk, she said. Both of you. Adrian stepped protectively in front of me. She raised a brow. For someone who pretended not to care about his wife, you're awfully possessive now. Adrian's voice dropped dangerously. Say what you came to say. Valeria glanced at me. At the hospital, I wasn't entirely honest. My stomach tightened. What do you mean? She exhaled slowly. You weren't the only target. My blood ran cold. What? Valeria crossed her arms. The poison was meant for Adrian. The room froze. Adrian stiffened, eyes widening only slightly, but enough. Valeria continued. Someone wanted the CEO dead. But because your teacups were switched, you drank his. I staggered backward. Adrian grabbed my arms, steadying me. I killed you, he whispered, devastated. My carelessness killed you. No, Valeria interrupted sharply. Your enemies did. And they're still watching him. Watching you. My head spun. So my death was an accident? A tragic one, she said. But yes. Adrian's grip tightened around me, trembling. I never wanted you to be part of this world, he breathed. I tried to keep you away from it. But I failed. Valeria looked between us. You don't have much time. Whoever planned this will strike again. And if they realize she's back. Adrian pulled me against him. Not coldly, not strictly, but with a gentleness I had never felt from him in my life. I won't let them touch you, he whispered into my hair. Not now. Not ever. I felt his heart pounding wildly against mine. Fast, desperate, alive. For the first time I saw him clearly. Not the strict CEO. Not the feared businessman. Not the cold husband. But the man who adored me so deeply he would tear the world apart before letting it take me again. The truth was undeniable now. My strict CEO husband had always hidden a gentle, devoted heart. A heart that was mine. Across death. Across bodies. Across fate itself. And as he held me, trembling with fear of losing me again, I realized something equally terrifying. I wasn't sure I could live without him either.